Alright guys, back to work on this thing. So, the body's still tacky. That rust streaks is going to take probably a good week to fully dry. It's a little smudgy right now, but I slid the doors on and we put it in here just to mock it up because I wanted to make some changes to the front suspension just a little bit, and I wanted to talk about the grill situation, motor situation. So, I posted on social media a little while back, and I think the dualies are the way to go. I don't know why it just strikes me a certain way on this. Not 100% set on the tires. I like the tires on the back. These are the 155 dirt grabbers, and they are a very scale small tire. And I think the small tire lends itself good to this body being so small. This is a little narrower, a little shorter, a little proportioned differently. So the giant tires, as neat as it would be, I don't want to cut the body in half just about to put those giant slicks on the back of it. And yeah, I like this look. We might run a different tire on the front. I'm not 100% sure, but these are the, I don't remember what these were called. They're 155 dually that RC 4-wheel drive makes. They had them in 1.7s and 1.55s, I think. And they are a 12 mil hex in the front, so I've got to get some different adapters because they're 1.55s. It doesn't really work with this front axle. So they won't spin right now. I've just got it on there for mock-up. So I've got some ideas. Some people have sent me a lot of different ideas for what to use for these, and we're going to try a couple of them out if I can remember to order them. So you saw me there at the end. I swapped out the 2-link to these longer rods, and I think I might have gone a little too far. I still don't know about the engine. I don't know, that looks pretty good with the rake of the grill. I'm not set on the rake of the grill, or the grill in general, or the motor. I mean, this is just a little 4-cylinder flathead from a Willys Jeep. I rusted it up. It looks good. It's a little delicate, and it's going to be a little interesting to mount. It's got some strange motor mounts set up, but it's totally doable. It's just not sure if that's the look we want. I think we need something bigger. We're still in the development phase here, so you can see there's a good amount of space here between the motor and the radiator. Down here at the bottom, it's 3 times as much. So we've got a little bit of dead air in there, and we still have a little bit of space between the grill and the front end. It looks cool. I like the proportion. I like the wheelbase with the dualies and the body. I think that's a good fit. Just with everything in here, it's not jobbing right. So I've got another grill I want to take a look at. I picked this up at a hobby shop on my journeys. They didn't have much of anything cool, but we got a Traxxas hot rod grill. The Traxxas has released the other cars now. It's kind of a, see if we can prop that up in there. So I don't know. I mean, it's hard to gauge because it's all stark chrome, but it doesn't have a real solid surround. So we've got this mounting bracket in here that will come off. It's not bolted down or anything, but that leaves us a very thin grill shell. And we need something to look like we have a radiator, something to look like, you know, there's more going on up there than that. So I don't know about that. What might be cool, which I probably couldn't do because I'm sure Traxxas wants an arm and a leg for their Lexan body, would be to buy the body, mount the grill to it, and then cut the body off. And so we'd have a little bit of a cowl around the grill, but that wouldn't work either because that is a full fendered car, so it would be jacked up and open on the sides. So yeah, I don't know. Somebody could design a 3D printed piece that grill could bolt into, and it would come back and kind of taper into the body. That might be cool, but again, that's out of my wheelhouse because I can't do the 3D design stuff. But something to think about. I need to do some staring at it and see. But I've got another engine. I've got a flathead Ford V8. Same one that we put in the farm truck. And it's already painted, and it's got all the chrome. One of the headers is broken, but we could fix that. And I don't know. It would fit the body size-wise. I don't know if it would fit the length that we're going for out here in the front. We really need a big inline 6. We need a diesel. And I have some diesels, kind of like what's in old number 2, but they're way too tall for this body. So we're trying to keep the proportions right. It's challenging, but it's fun because it's designing. I'm just trying to find the right thing for it. If this was real life, I started building a RatRod once, shoot, 15 years ago, 12 years ago. No, it was about 15 years ago. And I had it was about a 40 Ford cab. Beautiful green patina bullet holes. I chopped it 6 inches. I had no chassis yet. We hadn't got that far. I was trying to get the body to look right. And then we went and pulled a straight 8 out of a 46 or 7 Buick. And it wasn't a flathead 8. It was a... Or was it a flathead 8? No, it was a flathead 8. But something like that would fit this build really good. But I've never seen a flathead or any kind of straight 6 that wasn't a diesel. And then we get into the 3D printed stuff. Not a huge fan of 3D printed motors because it's just, they're so detailed and it's hard to get the grain out. You can't, I'm not precise enough or patient enough to sit there with the little, you know, nail files and try to clean out the side of the block and get the grain down. It's just, that's not me. Those flathead V8s I have, they look pretty good, and I paint everything chrome and then rust the chrome, and it has a weird effect. I call it my rusty pipe look. But those rust streaks eat into that chrome spray paint, and it makes a really neat look. We did that on the Volkswagen exhaust pipe and some stuff like that, but I don't know. I just don't know what the right engine for this is, so we're going to be kind of hung up on that for a little bit. And another design issue that we've got to think about too, with this front end so far stretched, we've got to start thinking about steering. That's been kind of the vein of existence for all the RatRod builds, except for, which one was it? I think it was the green 5-window. That one, I designed steering first, and it worked out fantastic. So, yeah, we got to look at that with this Grille angled back that really kills our workable space for a micro servo. And I know the first thing everybody says every time is put the servo in the cowl and run the linkage, and it's doable, but it's going to depend on the engine. And the rigs I've tried it on before, no way, no how, because these bodies again are super narrow. This one is pretty narrow, so if we had a larger or longer straight 6 or some kind of engine, might be room to run some linkage through. Second problem, the one I built for RC 4-wheel drive, they had a different axle. It was a JD Models axle, and it actually had an arm come off of there. Now I've made things, I've tried to make brackets off of these knuckles on these solid axles to get it going the right direction, but I've had a lot of issues with the slop, and it's too sloppy. So it's something to think about still. I mean, I'm not ruling it out, but it's definitely a challenge. But we're still stuck on the motor hurdle. And another slight issue with this one. Now, if we keep the front end out where we want it, our chassis rail is almost an inch short. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. But the way it always works, we'll design the chassis, which is already done. The proportions are right. It would work out fantastic in the back for suspension travel. Then we'll drill everything out and mount it, or drill the holes across for the motor mounts, whatever cross members we have, our whole rear suspension and everything. Hang our motor and our transmission, we'll split it down the middle, and then we'll mount everything together. The holes will line up perfect. And then we can go from there. And on all the builds I've done, when we get to that point, is when I kind of start looking up here. How to hang the grill, how to mount the steering servo, once we have it kind of as a roller. Because then we can play with the wheelbase a little bit still. But if I need to build off of the front, then, you know, we can do whatever we need to do. If I need to lengthen it, or I can just build some bracketry up and have everything mounted out off of that. Not to mention, too, front suspension. I hadn't even thought about that yet. Rear suspension's a given. It'll be just a real short 4-link. Standard RC 4-wheel drive rods and stuff like that, with some of their they've got some 30 or 40 millimeter Bilstein shocks that are perfect for these cute little things, and they'll be fantastic. I'd like to actually put some of those out front because they are so scale now, which reminds me I need to order some of those too. So I think that about wraps it up for this video. We've got some stuff to think about again, but got that body weathered. That was kind of a hang up for me because that blue was just so bright. It was not the navy blue that it looked like on the can. I bought that same paint before. That's what I painted. I had a blue TF2 that I actually ended up selling, which I regret. But it came out like a nice matte navy blue, so I bought the same stuff again, and it came out this real bright blue. But really toned it down a little bit. We're going to let that stuff set for another week or so before it's good to the touch. And there's still so much else to think about too. This has window frames in all the doors. The windshield has an actual frame that goes over so we can sandwich the Lexan from the outside. Makes mounting it a whole lot cleaner than like I've been doing with hot glue on the inside. Probably no side windows. The back ones, I don't know. You can see the door here on the side. It's got it to make the window to go on the outside, but I don't have any frames for those. This was kind of an incomplete print. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. There's supposed to be actual door hinges, and it's got grooves in the print on the body for a latch to actually go in. But I have no hinges, no latches, nothing. So I'm thinking maybe some rusty mesh in the back windows, because if you think about it, it's going to smell like exhaust inside this thing, so you need some ventilation. No side windows. The hinges, I don't know. I've thought about, external brass hinges that we can weather, but you weather the actual brass hinges that are not going to hinge. They're going to start corroding on the inside and cause a bunch of problems. I've thought about some other options. Thought about just not making the doors open, because I absolutely hate opening doors. Because when you're driving them, half the time they fly open, and things just don't ever jive quite right. So got some thinking to do on that. It's not so much that the hinge would be ugly on the outside. It's just I don't like the opening doors. I mean, we've got a perfect fit on these, but there's a big hang up with them, because this print wraps so far underneath. There's so much curvature. And that door actually goes into the body and sets on top of the body. That's kind of what keeps it framed so well. So as far as it actually opening out one way or the other, there'd have to be a lot of clearancing made on the bottom of the door, and if you get too far, then you have a gap between your rocker and your bottom of your door. So lots of little things to think about. But again, I'm not stressing over doors. We're still a long way from that, and by the time we get to that point, I'll probably just glue the dang things on and call it good, because I hate them. But then at the same time, I've been brainstorming different. I'm trying to find a cool way to mount the body, because since I've been making all these reels on Instagram and TikTok and trying to promote the brand that way, I've been getting the RatRods out and doing stuff with them, and they're custom builds, so they're not easy to snap on and off body. There's no body pins. A lot of it's very involved. It takes 5 minutes or so to get the body off and put a battery in it. So trying to incorporate that into my chassis design, a way to make the body hinged where it just lifts up from the back and the front's held on with magnets. I've gotten close to that concept a couple times with the other builds. The green one has magnet mounts, and it works pretty good. So I think there's room for improvement on that, and we could at least do something like that where it's quick on and off. I'm going to try to incorporate, I just like putting bench seats in these, but this one's going to be so low, we'll have to obviously have a clearance for the drive shaft to make some kind of seat thing that attaches to the chassis, and then attach the seat to the body, and it acts as a body mount itself. And you just throw your little 3-cell LiPo in the seat, call it good. But again, and then there's another hurdle of that. What engine do we use? If we use this engine, well, then all of a sudden now our motor and whatever transmission is in here completely messes up the interior plans. So we're back to square 10. So I don't know. Part of me just wants to buy another RC 4-wheel-drive V8. I know it'd be a huge investment. I'll spend another $300 on the R4, the motor, a different kind of intake and valve covers and all the cool things that it would need. But I mean, that's really the ultimate solution to these kind of builds. That thing is so versatile, and it's robust, it's well built, it's aluminum so it sheds the heat. It is paintable. I have yet to paint one. I always say I'm going to, and then I never do. But I don't know. Lots of options to choose from. So I don't know. I really don't want to. I want to focus more on the interior on this one, because this does have so much space. So I think a motor like the one we have it mocked up with is out of the question. I think it's going to have to be something that will hide a 540 motor in it. But I'm going to quit rambling, guys. I know this has been going on. We didn't do a whole lot of work in this. Weathering stuff takes time. I put this on super, super heavy. So that's why it's just taking over. Probably going to take me a week to dry, because I wanted this one to be really dark, really tone down that blue and red, and I'm pretty happy with the look of it. I could, once it dries, we may come back with some powders and stuff on the roof, add a little bit more deterioration on the top surface and on the cowl. So we'll just see. That's kind of the fun part, while we're sitting here thinking about the engineering of it and what we're going to do. And we can just play with the body a little bit to keep us occupied while we're figuring things out. But I appreciate you guys watching. I hope everybody gets out and does something cool with the hobby. Think outside the kit. Don't have to be a rat rod. Build whatever you want. Take your truck, turn it into something else when you get bored with it. That's what I do. Just keep evolving the hobby, getting new ideas out there, and yeah, get outside and do something. I'll see you on the next video. Keep it scale.